Everybody, welcome back to the garage. It's been a while since I've done an update on the Silverado. In fact, I've shot some videos, but I don't know that I've really edited them or posted them. So I thought I'd do just kind of a quick update, give you an idea where we're at. Obviously, we're back on the supercharger. We are running speed density only. Deleted the MAF. And I've got a couple of issues I'm dealing with right now. One of them, since I've gone speed density, I've kind of got a cold start issue where it doesn't want to start too well. I haven't really tried tuning on that yet. I just need to adjust the VE for crank. So I'll probably do a video on that here soon. But that's a pretty minor issue. The big problems that I have right now is I'm running out of fuel. Running E85 on my setup, even with the bigger methanol jet, are going to dual nozzle. I'm running out of fuel, and I'm running out of fuel quite early. So by the time this thing would get to 6,000 RPMs on a wide open throttle pull, I would probably be dangerously low on fuel right now. So, but I've got a couple options. One, my secondary methanol injection jet is only at 500 cc's. I can double that one, which will add significant flow to the methanol injection. And then on top of that, I could go over to a 50-50 blend. I'm only running windshield wiper fluid, like cold weather wiper fluid, which is, like 23% or something like that, 25% methanol. So I could pick up some additional fueling if I were to run a little bit more of a blend. Doing the pros and cons, really enjoying the E85 with the knock resistance and the additional timing, and it does make the truck just is a lot more peppier right now with all of it combined. So it is what it is. I could always just go back to 93. The thing ran safe on 93, made plenty of power, and had plenty of headroom on the fueling. So the other issue, the dreaded P0068 DTC, which throws the truck into limp mode, effectively what it is that there is a specific test that runs to make sure that your throttle's not ran away. After, I don't know if you guys remember, Toyota a while back had issues with fly-by-wire throttle vehicles. Basically, the throttle would stick and run away and cause, crashes and stuff like that. So they developed this P0068, which prevents that from happening. The issue being right now is that, in spite of everything, I'm maxing that table out with the supercharger, and it's freaking out and it's throwing the truck in limp mode. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that adjusted so it's not an issue, and because I don't want to necessarily disable that. It is a safety feature that's fairly important. So, and I've gone and looked at some tunes for some things like the ZL1 and it's still in there, and there should be a way to tune it, but I've maxed out a lot of the table and I'm still hitting it. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. We are also having intake air temp issues. I was hoping that, well, let me break it down. Basically, I went with a filter directly on the inlet of the Procharger. The most effective way of getting this thing to breathe air in. It's awesome, except that on this generation of engines, that puts your intake right over your exhaust manifold, so it starts breathing in warm air. I was hoping that the methanol injection would be enough to offset that. The problem being that the IAT just isn't, I don't think it's quite quick enough to register the change in intake air temp from the methanol injection whenever you're wide open throttle, and so you're missing out on timing because you've got that inflated temperature. I need to do some more research on that, figure out what I can do, and I mean, obviously the short-term solution is to move the filter back kind of where it was. What's next? I mean, more tuning, figuring out this fueling issue. I don't know that I want to keep on modifying this truck. I am very tempted to get something different that I can tear into and not feel bad about it. So I don't know. There's a lot of ifs going on. So I could put a bigger pulley on there to lower the boost down a little bit. That might solve the fueling issue. That might also solve the P0068 DTC issue. You know, so I've got to deal with the fueling, got to deal with the 68 air. I got to get the cold start sorted out. So it's not a big ordeal. It just takes longer than normal to kind of get going. And what's going on there is now with its speed density, which took the math out of the equation for doing air calculation on startup, and then on top of it, with this setup where I'm basically coming from the outlet directly into the intake manifold, man, it just blasts it with a real big chunk of air whenever it starts, and then the blow-off valve opens up and it starts bypassing air like it normally would. So that initial blast of air causes a very, a hard lean condition right on the initial cranking, and then it catches up and everything kind of sorts itself back out. So, it is what it is. So I gotta get the crank idle dialed in. I gotta get the fueling situation sorted out. I gotta get the IATs down. I gotta keep it from going into limp mode. So there's a lot going on right now. As I said, tuning's going to fix most of it, all of it, in fact, except for the shortness or the lack of fueling. Okay, that's just kind of where we're at on the Silverado. I've got some film on the quote-unquote cutting room floor that goes more in depth on it. I need to finish up the video going over the turbo setup and kind of go over like what it would cost to do a super cheap eBay remote mount turbo on a Chevy like this, or basically any kind of Chevy, any V8 for that matter. But as I said, I've got a lot of video on the cutting room floor of doing the setup on the new Procharger setup with the speed density setup and the new tubing and all the crap that I took out. I took like 7 foot worth of intake piping out and a piece of crap intercooler. Now I'm kind of wondering, like, maybe that intercooler wasn't quite as crappy as I thought it was. But honestly, if I go back to an intercooler on this setup, I'm going to go air to water. So I think that's probably going to happen regardless. So that may be the next step. I still got to figure out what I want to do on the Silverado. Honestly, I would be fine throwing a 4.5 inch pulley on this thing, dialing the tune back in, throwing the MAF back on it, and forgetting about this and just leaving it there. Leaving it around 500 horsepower, which is crazy, and just being done with it and then finding a different project car to start doing stupid stuff on. I would like to find something and then start striving for maybe 800 to 1,000 horsepower on it. I don't know what yet. So if you got any comments or suggestions on what would be an awesome platform to try and do a 1,000 horsepower build, hit up the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. There's a lot of great tuning information. I've got more stuff coming out. I'm going to jam out a couple videos this weekend, like Gen 3 MAF tuning. I've got to do some torque management tuning videos. So yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe. Thank you to all the new subscribers. You guys are awesome. We're about to break 2,250. We probably already have. I haven't checked today. Man, just love all you new people out there. Check out the Patreon. There's some early release stuff over there. And, as always, thank you for your support. And thanks for stopping by the garage. We'll check you later.